Greetings, happy people, and welcome back to Affinity10. My name is Nick with TDG. Have you ever thought to yourself, I am the master of the baseline grid? You got your baseline grid set up, your text is flowing beautifully and it's snapping to the grid like it's supposed to, and then all of a sudden, it's not. You go to make a text frame and you apply your paragraph style, and for whatever reason, the text is not snapping to the baseline grid. Then you start pulling your hair out because you're trying to figure out what is going on and why is it not working. So in this quick hit video, we're going to take a look at what is happening and how we can fix that issue if it does happen to you, because it can be very frustrating if you're not sure where to look at to troubleshoot the issue. So right now I am zoomed into our document and I have a baseline grid active, and on the left I have a paragraph style applied of base indent left justified, and on the right we also have the same paragraph style of base indent left justified applied, but you probably notice a slight difference between the two. The one on the left is snapping to our baseline grid like it's supposed to, and the one on the right is not. So if I take the one on the left and I start dragging it up and down, you'll notice that the text is snapping to the baseline grid like it's supposed to. However, if I take the one on the right, which has the exact same paragraph style applied, it's not snapping to the baseline grid. It's floating anywhere it wants to and not adhering to the properties we have set up. So what happened and how can we fix this issue? And if I go ahead and bring this back up here a little bit just so it's no longer on the grid and it just kind of floats around here, let's take a look at how we can troubleshoot this issue, because it can be very frustrating when you just think for a moment you have your baseline grids all figured out, and then the text goes wonky and you can't figure out how to correct it. So the first thing you want to look at is, of course, make sure that you do in fact have a paragraph style applied that you know for a fact has baseline grids being applied, which in this case we know that we do. And then the next thing you're going to want to do is go over to the typography interface, and once again, if you don't have this open, click on the three dots and make sure you have typography turned on. And then if you look at your character styles here, you'll notice there's nothing in this part that's referencing a baseline grid. But up here, there is something that's referencing the baseline grid, but it's checkmarked on. So if I click on both of these are saying they're aligning to the baseline grid, yet they're not. So there's one other place we can look, and it's not a panel that's open by default. So if this is your first time working in Affinity or you're not super familiar with it, then it can be very easy to overlook where this is at. So what we're going to do is go underneath our view menu, our window layout, and you want to go down to text, and you're going to see the option down here for text frame. We want to click on that, and our text frame studio panel is going to open up, and by default, depending on the size of your frame, it may be scaled up like this where you can't see everything. But if I expand this just so we can see everything in one view, instead of scrolling, up here at the top, you'll notice there's a setting called Ignore the Baseline Grid, and somehow this got toggled on. Now this can happen maybe if you created a text frame and you did have to ignore the baseline grid for one instance and you forgot that you toggled this on. That's typically when that happens, and what will happen if you do that, any new text frames you make that weren't already on a master page is automatically going to have the Ignore Baseline Grid turned on. So if I click on this frame now, and I choose to uncheck Ignore Baseline Grid, our text is fixed, and it's now snapping to the grid exactly as it's supposed to. So if you ever run into this instance where your text is not snapping to the baseline grid like you have set up, keep in mind to check out your text frame panel by going underneath the window, text, and text frame. Now you can, what I recommend is take this and dock it over here on your text styles panel. That way it's easily accessible to you, and it can be a quick point of reference for you to look at if you run into this issue. So I hope this helped you out if you ran into this issue. If this helped you out, please like or subscribe and help a designer out. I appreciate you taking the time with me on this quick hit tip. I know we didn't have a Toby tip today, but this is just a real quick video in case you ran into this issue. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.